Greetings, Guzzlers. Tiny Rebel again. We're on Cwtch. Yes, C-W-T-C-H. Cwtch. It's Welsh. It means hug or cuddle. Welsh red ale. Very nice. Had that on tap, as it were. Just get rid of that bottle. Nothing to do with Wales tonight though, pardon the beer. Tonight, you may have noticed an upturn in temperature because we're in the Philippines. We're going to make a traditional Filipino meal, a Filipino adobo, specifically in this case a chicken adobo. Now it's a relatively simple dish. Obviously we want some chicken. Now you could have a whole chicken and quarter it and chop it all up into bits. I've got chicken thighs again. 4 onions, bay leaves, pepper, salt, garlic, soy sauce, rice wine vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, some water and some chillies, and that's all there is to it. Okay, now not an awful lot of prep to do, so we are running late tonight, partly something else and partly because of the wife. So let's get started. So I've done some prep already. So I've measured out 4 tablespoons of oil. I've got 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 5 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, well actually it's light because Bible State water is light, but it doesn't really make any difference. So 5 tablespoons of soy sauce, 5 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, about half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper, black pepper, 5 bay leaves, and then getting on for a tablespoonish of crushed garlic. So that's all done. Got 700 mils of water measured out. Now chilies, I've got 2 whole green chilies, and they're going to stay whole, and I've got 1 whole red chilli, staying whole, and then I've got 2 red chillies. I've taken the seeds out of these. You don't have to if you don't like one, two, you can keep them in, of red chillies. Okay, and that essentially is it. Now, first thing first, with the onions, we just want to slice our onions, okay, and they will be going in. Well, basically, everything goes in together. So this dish, we just shove it all in, pretty much together, and then it sits there and simmers for 40 minutes, and hopefully at that stage it's cooked. Now, if you want to serve it with an accompaniment, okay, then you'll need to do some rice. You could have a bit of salad. That's up to you. All right. So I'm just going to finish these onions, and then I've got my pot ready, and we're good to go. So I've got my aluminium pan, and we're going to need the lid later. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tip that oil into there, 4 or 5 tablespoons. I'm going to put the heat on. I want to get that nice and hot. Okay, and then we'll be putting the chicken in. So, what's chicken adobo, or what's an adobo? Well, essentially this goes back to all these sort of hot countries, like places like the Philippines and that, where of course, you know, the natives wouldn't have had any form of refrigeration, so they needed a way of keeping, preserving sort of things like meat. And so one way the Filipinos did it was by using vinegar, acid and salt. And so they developed this marinade, if you like, that was primarily very acidic and very salty. It has a few other choice things in it. It might mean, for instance, bay leaves and black pepper and a bit of garlic. They perhaps tend to be the more traditional additions, but you could have ginger in it. You could have different types of rice wine vinegar. That would give it different flavours. You could put coconut in it. Coconut vinegar, I think I should have said. So essentially, it was this base sauce, if you like, or marinade of vinegar, eventually became, the salt eventually became replaced with soy sauce, okay, because obviously it's very salty, and bay leaves, like I said, and garlic, and the meat would have been marinated in this, and this would have kept it fairly well preserved. Let's just come up to heat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these thighs in, skin side down for the moment. Now, when the Spanish in the 16th century invaded the Philippines, they saw this sort of method of cooking, and they realised, of course, the meat as such was being marinated. So they gave it the name that they used, that meant marinade, and that was adobo. So that's where the name adobo came from. Right, so I'm just going to wash my hands because I've had the chicken on that. Just let that warm up a bit, and then we'll move to the next part, and also the next history lesson. So chicken's now starting to get hot, so now I'm just going to put those chopped onions in. Okay, seems a lot of onions. Cut back if you wanted to. Just only put a couple of onions in, that's up to you. Now we just give it a little quick mix. I'm just going to turn that heat down a little bit. Okay, not too worried about mixing it all in thoroughly, because our next thing is we're then going to add the garlic. So tapas. Good, it's all Spanish. Sprinkle over salt, pepper, chilies, just don't want to come out. We'll do now. Then we've got our 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, our 5 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, and our 5 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. Like I said, you may choose to add things like ginger, not at this stage, but you might put some honey in. When we get near the, when we get at the end of the cooking, we will be adding, if we want, some sugar to sweeten it up, because obviously you've got the tang of the acid there and everything else like that. Being a bit serious at the minute, anyway. I haven't had enough drink yet, that's my first drink. Look what time it is. Saturday night. Anyway, you don't have to sweeten it. Like I said, you might traditionally serve this with rice, but you could have a salad or something like that with it. Okay, and then final things I'm going to add, I'm just going to put them chilies in there. I'm just going to put the bay leaves in. Okay, and then we're going to add 700 ml of water. Okay, actually that's about 500, that will do, because it's more or less covered it all. And all we're going to do now is bring it up to the boil, put the lid on, turn it down to a nice simmer, excuse me, and simmer it for 40 minutes. And apart from, like I say, at the very end, adding a bit of sugar if you want to sweeten it up, that's all there is to it. So, we can sit and watch this get up to boil, or we can stop watching this, and then I'll see you back in about 40 minutes. Alright? I think we'll let you go now. Go and get yourself a beer. You deserve one. Or anything you like, really. Right, now I said I'll see you in 40 minutes. Still got 15 minutes to go. But what I've done, I had to just check on it, and it's all looking okay, but I've decided to take the lid off, okay, just to reduce the liquid down a bit because we really want it a bit thicker than this. Okay, and also I just reviewing what I said to you earlier, and I did say to you, end of part before last. We'll get back on. I'll give you the rest of the history lesson, and I totally forgot. Okay, so I'd already told you the adobo comes from the Spanish word for marinade, because that's what the Spanish in the 16th century had seen the Filipinos doing. Okay, now it does actually get an official mention in a Spanish cookbook. I'm going to have to read this. Okay, this was one of the earliest references to this type of dish in the Manual de Cocaíno, Hospitero, Pastelero, Confitero e Botellera by Mariano de Rementera y Fica. Probably appallingly said. Written in 1850. Okay, so that's our first written record, but like we say, it actually dates back to the Spanish invasion of the 16th century, but they tended not to write an awful lot down. Most cultures didn't. It was accepted that the sort of cooking was passed down through generations. A bit like I think I said from one of the Viking episodes. You don't have a written record of Viking menus or meals. Most cultures just assumed you'd learn from your mother, if you like, or father even perhaps, how to cook your meal. So you're getting the, I mean, I know I can't smell, but now I've got that steam coming up, I can get the acidity in my nose. Alright, the wife upstairs finally got out of the bath and she said it smelled really nice. So we're just going to let this finish off. I think I said to you, this is considered the national dish of the Philippines. There is no official national dish of the Philippines, but basically this one is the one that's sort of generally accepted. But it doesn't have to be chicken. You could use pork, you could use whatever meat you wanted, or you could even not even have meat. But generally the whole point of it was to preserve the meat. Anyway, got me to have another beer, still got a bit of time left on the clock. Catch you at the end. So, here we go. I've wicked out 4 of the bay leaves, I can't find the 5th one. I've taken out the chilies, the big ones, you can leave them in, it's up to you. Let's have a little taste of the sauce if you like. You've got the chili. Oh, chili kick. I wouldn't say it's too sharp, so to me it tastes a little bit sweet. I don't know where that sweetness comes from, so I'm not going to put some sugar in it, but like I say, if you wanted to, you could sprinkle a little bit of sugar in it, just as much as you want to sweeten it. Apparently that makes it a bit like a teriyaki sauce, or you could use honey, be a bit more natural if you like. Still can't find that, but hang on, what's that? No. Right, so I'm just going to serve this in some dishes and then we'll chicken out. Right, so here we go. I've dished it up, found the other bay leaf while I was doing it. So a bit of the chicken, it is nice and tender, falling off. Remove the skin, because the skin's, what you can do is you can like remove the chicken and then crispen up the skin, but we're not going to bother. Chicken's got the flavours, not quite exactly the same hit. Oh, no, the chili's coming through. I think most of the chilli and the tanginess is in the sauce, but that chicken that chicken is picking it up. So there you go, your Filipino adobo. I'm going to go and enjoy this now, but I better get a beer with me.